Hello and welcome back to the Cheap Chumps Podcast. It's me, Marty, and followed with me is, or accompanied by me.
Ernie, the audio engineer.
hmm If you guys don't remember, he was here last week, but he's more of an audio engineer. But today it's just gonna be me and him, and we have some things to talk about today. So I'm ready to get into it. Ernie, is there anything you'd like to add as this being your first official intro? I guess.
Uh, no, just hi, welcome, and I'm glad, excited to be a part of this episode.
I'm glad to have you here. All right. So here's a couple gaming news I'm going to hit you with. Firstly, Battlefield 2042. It's a game everybody knows Battlefield. Nothing really to write about. We've all heard about it. 2042 was a game that was going to come out, I think, in a week or two, but they delayed it to November 19th. And the reasoning, their statement, and I won't read the whole statement out loud, but, just trouble with the team and COVID, and I could totally understand. But it's definitely slating itself into November 19th, which my only slight concern is that a lot of games are coming out around that time. I'm sure a new Call of Duty's coming around and it's Christmas season. So suddenly it put itself in a spot where it has to compete. And I don't know what you think about that, Ernie, if anything, but I just am a little afraid for them. But well, they're a AAA title, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're EA, so they have deep pockets, but yeah, I mean, you can't be mad at them for delay because COVID, the world, or everything the way just the world is, but yeah, that's the biggest concern where it's competitors now. Who is it going to directly compete with? And there's some pretty big games in that area, so I mean, doesn't look
Mhm.
good.
It doesn't, but at the end of the day, there will be a dedicated fan base, and there will be a fan base that will hate it and say what they always say, that Battlefield 3 was the best, and move on with their life. I mean, I've heard it over and over. But next big news. As of today of this recording, September 19th, tomorrow, or I guess in Japan even today, at this moment, is the Persona 25th anniversary, meaning 25 years ago on this date, Revelations Persona, as it was originally called, came out, and that is exciting for me, a Persona fan. And if I recall, you're a Persona fan too, Ernie.
Yeah, remember when I almost had to force you to play the game and you wouldn't want to play it?
Yeah, so it's actually really funny. Ernie did let me borrow his Vita and really badly wanted me to play Persona 4 Golden, but I told him something along the lines that no, I don't think it's a game for me. I don't think I'd enjoy it. And then cut to about 2 years later, or a year ago, yeah, like a year and a half now, I finally played that game after playing Persona 5, and unironically, Persona 4 Golden is one of my top 5 games of all time.
Yeah,
Like,
I've said for a long time where the Vita was not a huge success. People who love it, but sales wise, it just wasn't that great. And honestly, if it wasn't for Persona 4 Golden on that little device, I would have regretted the Vita. But the fact that I played it on that and it's just such a wonderful, amazing game, no regrets.
isn't it crazy that like as of this past summer, like it came out on PC.
Yeah.
So I mean, Persona's getting bigger. It's always been around. It is funny to think about that, but it's getting bigger. It's one of my favorite franchises, and the anniversary. This is kind of the main point for me, is that the anniversary coming up is exciting because back in March, Atlas did announce slightly that in early September, although we're a little past that, but in early September they had announcements and projects coming up that they would announce. We're announced September 19th. The anniversary is coming up. Do you think anything later today is going to be teased in any way, or maybe even a trailer?
I don't know. I hope so. I hope it's something big and wonderful. I've heard rumors of stuff, but I mean, what are we expecting? Persona 6 is nowhere near. I'm again just assuming. I don't know. Uh, like spin-off games, animes. What do you think?
That's what I'm that is what I'm thinking. That here's the 3 passion projects I kind of want. You said Persona 6, but I wouldn't be too mad if just a teaser drop, like a 5 second, 10 second, like how Spider-Man 2 got like that small little something like that for Persona 6, even like the school symbol, because we all know it's gonna take place in a high school as always. Number two, and this is something as a fighting game player and as someone who enjoyed Persona 4 Arena a little too late, Persona 5 Arena. Now that's a spin-off game I've been wanting. And I know not everyone's for fighting games. I don't think you ever played Persona 4 Arena.
No, pretty sure I didn't.
No, well, believe it or not, I even bought like a physical copy. I think last year just to play through the story and see what it had to offer. And BB Tag also helped me fall in love with that game. And all things, put it all in one place and make a new one. Give the people what they want. Because trust me, there's a large. I'm not gonna say large, but there's a pretty avid community out there of people who want Persona 5 Arena and have been waiting since 2012 or 13, I think, when 4 Arena came out. And just give that to me, please. New fighting games are great, and a fighting game using a franchise I love is super great. I thought Dragon Ball Fighters, even for all it came out to be, super fun. But I don't know what you would think about someone like Haru beating up Yu Narukami. I don't know if that's exciting to you, but it is to me.
I mean, I think it could be cool. I mean, there's definitely, a fan base that wants it. Would you be happy if it was like just a reskin with this very similar moves, just, with the new characters, or would you want like from the ground up?
I would want ground up, but if there's anything Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, and have you ever heard of that game before I go into
I
it?
mean, I heard of it. I haven't seen anything, but I know of it.
Something Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle taught me was that it is definitely possible, and Ultimate too, in a way. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is that it is definitely possible to reuse a lot of game assets that already exist and like put a spin in there or like just update it slightly and have a pretty good fun game. BB Tag, for all that it was, you could easily tell that all the sprites were reused from their predecessor games. All the Persona 4 representatives just use the sprites from Persona 4 Arena. BB Tag, use all the ones from Chrono Phantasma. I think you kind of get the pattern here. But they made new ones for Ruby characters and like for Heart and all that. And even though there was some new stuff, so my example I'm trying to go for here is that yes, I wouldn't mind a reskin if they just brought up Persona 4 Arena and just added like some Persona 5 characters, but it was really the same game. I think I would be fine with that, but I can't speak for everybody, and that's all I really have to say about it.
Would you be okay if they just reskinned it again, like you were talking about, and they didn't bring back the Persona 4 people, just Persona 5 characters reskinned, and it's a full $70, $60 price tag?
No, that would not. I think that's kind of where I would cut it, or like I don't want to say chastise, but definitely give them flack for, because I want the idea. Because in Persona 4 Arena, believe it or not, Persona 3 characters come back and make a return. So that's kind of what I'm wanting out of Persona 5 Arena, where we're now in modern day. It takes place in Tokyo, right? It's been a while, but
Yeah.
it takes place in Tokyo. We're in modern day Tokyo, and there's now like an adult Yu Narukami. There's now a police officer. Like, I want to see what their future selves look like, how we saw Mitsuru and Akihiko look like. Because in Persona 4 Arena, Akihiko was super buff. He wears a cape now for some reason. He has scars all over his body. He's like this adult who's just never stopped training, I guess. And Mitsuru now is all what's the word? Not dolled up. Like, she's accepted her being head of her manor and all that. And so that's kind of what I want with Persona 5 Arena. Like, we see an adult Chie, we see an adult Yukiko. Yosuke is now like some store manager for what's it called? Junas. My character of choice that I like to see, not exactly older, but just returned, is Adachi. I don't think that one would happen, but I think it'd just be fun. But an adult Yunarakami, Rise is still an idol, and that was confirmed by Persona 5 because you can see posters of her still around. And I think you
Really?
get my point there. Yeah. You didn't know about that?
I'm pretty sure I saw it, but dude, I played that thing like 2 years ago.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I love it when games make those small connections.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Persona 5, you can see the posters, and there's Rise and Kanamine from Persona 5 Dancing. But that's what I want. I want to see how they're doing in life now, because that's one thing Persona, I guess I'm gonna say in quotation, struggles to do is like link them properly. 3 and 4 was way better about it. 4 to 5 was not so great about it, other than the Rise poster. And I think 2 to 3 said like they mentioned something, but like 1 and 2 pretty much get pushed out all the time otherwise.
You know what I want, man? Give me another Persona that dance all night, baby. Let's go.
Another one, I'm like, unless you're talking about like 1 for 1 and 2, we already have 3, 4, and 5.
I'll take them. I'll take them. Don't stop. Give me more songs. Give me remixes. Let's go.
Do that, but don't charge me for half of the songs. Because notice how so many songs become DLC in quotations for those games.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
Like they really did siphon my wallet for a little bit. But I'm down with that. And maybe like some coherent, because you know what's funny is that Persona 4 dancing is canon. I don't know if you know that at all.
I remember playing it on my Vita, and I remember it was very story heavy for a dancing game.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's all canon.
wow,
Same with the arena games. They're all canon. Like Adachi even has a cool little redemption arc. I won't spoil it too much, but I think that's why I like Persona 4 a lot. So yeah, give me a Persona 5 spin-off that's very story heavy. Strikers was cool. I'm just gonna take a little
yeah.
moment. Strikers was neat. I beat it. I thought it was really nice. It gave me kind of the same feeling Persona 5 did, just a lot more action oriented. But it kind of felt like you could shrug it off to the side. Like you didn't need it in your life.
No, it definitely wasn't. I don't want to say required, but I had a blast with it. I mean, for what it was, I enjoyed it very much. It was a fun game. I revisited the characters in a different setting, um, and I had a
Yeah.
blast.
See, and I want to focus a little bit on that, like revisiting the characters. Do you not think seeing older four, and even if some of the three casts came back again and they're even more older, would that not be like neat to see?
Yeah, that would be very. It'd be cool. I mean, I don't. I don't think I played. I haven't played 1, 2, or 3.
Oh,
But
you have to play. Well, to be fair, I didn't play three traditionally like FES or anything. I played P3P and I played the female route, which has its differences, or so I'm told a lot. So
are those on PSP or Vita?
PSP for P3P, but FES you need to buy a PS2 copy. You can borrow mine. I actually went and searched one out.
I need a PS2. I still got my PS3, but no PS2. I was an Xbox boy.
Yeah, me too. But nope. I went back and bought a PS3 because I had this feeling to play a lot of games. Did I ever tell you how I bought a Dreamcast? Actually, I went back and bought a Dreamcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just to play Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like the best way you could, because it was a console that ran it the best. I bought
Yeah.
the game for $80. I looked it up for like what it goes for on eBay and other related websites nowadays. Take a wild guess.
The thing
Talking
is,
about, oh, go on.
as they get older, they get more expensive.
Hmm.
Um, you talking about just the console or the console in the game?
Talk about the game, just the game actually.
Oh, dude, the game. I don't know, maybe like 80, $100,
300.
300. Is that sealed or just?
Just I don't even know sealed. I just looked up like MVC2 like a copy.
That's
And
crazy.
part of it has to go with Maximilian and all them have already done this, but part of it has to do with hashtag free MVC2 because
Hmm.
Disney has this love hate relationship with the older MVC games where they like
Yeah.
lock it off again. So like I don't think you can even run MVC2 tournaments or anything. So there are a bunch of streamers and media people, I'll just call them, have all been trying to liberate the game. So that may or may not be why it's rare or the price went up again.
Well, I mean, just as they get older, there's less and less copies out there.
Hmm. But then they became a lot more sought out when, and it always happens whenever these like streamers and all that go out and say like, hey, find this game, it's really good, it's old but it's good, and then suddenly everybody wants it, so now demand goes up, but supply definitely isn't going up at all.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Isn't that what happened with the whole Disney thing with the latest Marvel vs. Capcom? Wasn't great. No X-Men.
Yeah, no one. There was a lot of things, and I won't go super deep because this is old news. But part of it was that there were no X-Men. The character roster felt cookie cutter, and people found out, or at least like deduced that the characters that were put in that returned from the last game, they literally just took the models over from three, put them into MVCI. But the difference was that in MVC3 or in upres them, I should say, but the difference was that in NVC3, they used to have like the way they looked there was made to fit the comical style, the heavy cell shading and all that. When MVCI came out and they were trying to go for like the cinematic kind of look and all that, make them look super realistic, it made a lot of them look really bad when they didn't change any of the models. Remember when they first debuted it and Chun Li, like there was a whole thing about Chun Li's face just being.
No, I
So
didn't hear that.
you didn't hear about? Oh my god, there's so much. I could talk about this for days, but Chun-Li's face looked so gross that on Twitter and everywhere else they demanded they get it changed to the point that Capcom had to respond and actually went in and changed her face. But it
Wow.
still didn't help when like Dante still looked like he has had no sleep in the last 20 years. When Captain Marvel just had a giant forehead, just a lot of things art design about the game just didn't look great, and it just felt like it was a cash grab. Like felt like free advertisement for their movies.
Oof, that's not good. But I mean,
Yeah.
at least on the good side, now we know that Disney and Marvel they don't want to make their own games. They're just like here,
Yeah.
license them out. You know, if you can make a good game, you know, we'll give you the license. So if enough people want it, hopefully they'll make another one and much better.
People still want people are still holding out for an actual MVC4. People consider Infinite a weird spinoff throughout the FGC community.
Hmm.
But we've definitely derailed far off course. Persona 25th anniversary. Give me something good. A teaser, just a picture. I'll take it. Uh, Moving on. Here's kind of just a for all you PS4 owners, and there are a lot of you. And if you don't own a PS5, the new update for PS4 has been accidentally bricking controllers. So just keep an eye out for that.
Oh, I did not hear about this.
Yeah, no, I just read something about it on PC Gamer. I think it happened 1 or 2 days ago. They wrote about it, where the new update is just straight up bricking them. So just take care. That's all. Like, just a word of warning. Take care, please.
Be safe.
Yep. Final small little announcement before we get into a lot of things. I'll say here is the Apex Legends servers. They're still not doing great. Apex Legends just had a new update and I could talk all about it. Rampart is a little too broken. I don't know how good of an idea it was to give somebody a minigun and run around with it in a battle royale, but hey, I'm not a developer. But the servers are still super laggy and they make you crash a lot right now because Apex doesn't have any public beta like servers or anything. They never test their patches, so to say. Like they test them when they get released.
Right?
Like you remember when Overwatch, I don't know if they still do this, but like how they used to have beta servers for like to test a patch in case like there's anything broken.
Yeah. Beta
Yeah,
patches.
yeah. Apex doesn't do that, and people have always wanted it to happen, but I think this definitely pushed me to that side of having public beta servers, because when the patch first came out, it was really hard to get into a game for the first 12 hours. It was possible, but there was a good chance like on loading into the game, your game would crash anyway, amongst a million other things. And there were a lot of code errors. Now, it's been about a week. The servers are more stable, but as they even said in their own tweet, they're still running 3 times slower than they would like it to. So they chose to extend the split by another week, the rank split. For you who don't know and those who don't know, uh, Apex ranked it has 2 splits throughout the season, throughout their 90-ish day or so season. Where on first ranked split, you play on a certain map and only that map for ranked. And in the second split, you play on a different map, and that's all that really changes. You got to re-rank back up, so on and so forth, right?
Mhm.
Well, they promised to extend the split by a whole week and said they're hoping to get it fixed throughout the weekend. So by tomorrow, ideally, they want to have it fixed. But it's also interesting because this was the patch that was supposed to remove a large movement capability. I don't want to call it a bug, but it was never intended. Where it was something you could tap strafe. And to explain it, imagine you're just a character. You're running, right? Like you're running
Mhm.
straight forward. You right now, and you slide. Your momentum kind of carries that forward into a stall or into a stop, right?
Right.
So in Apex, because it was built on the TF2 engine, so there were some things left in and out. Um, in Apex, you could do that, but what you can do that's almost physically impossible without you doing some like really heavy action or some kind of pirouette or something advanced, I'll say. Um, I definitely couldn't just do it on the whim. Was that if you can momentum shift your entire body to go left and just do a sharp 90-degree. Some people even have been able to do sharper than 90 degrees. And with certain like jump pads and grapples, you can even do a full 180-degree momentum turn And that's something in Apex that people have been starting to do and get good at. And the developers, about like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago by now, said they were going to remove it in this patch. But they found out that something in the patch didn't work and it didn't let them remove it. So I want to ask you, an outsider, how would you feel playing a multiplayer game and you're like been honing this new skill, this new tactic to get better at a game, right? And after months, and because this has been around for months now, after months and months of like honing this, they decide that no, you can no longer do it. It's gone now.
I mean, we are playing the developer's vision, right? It's their game. They're going to do whatever's best for the game. So if it's not meant to be there, then I'm all for it. Get it out. I mean, sure, people practice it, but it's like, if you're playing and you discover a glitch, and then you can't be mad when, oh, they patched the glitch. Well, why would they do that? Well, because that's not what's best for the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and with that, like, okay, I once hit plat, got really close to diamond in ranked, but then I realized playing ranked in a battle royale is kind of cursed already. And I like the game itself. It's really fun, and all this movement stuff is fun. But I'm definitely no super sweat. I've entered like 2 tournaments of this game once in my life, and then realized I don't want to compete in this game. Um, that being said, I am on the teeter totter about it on both sides. On one hand, me who like actually likes delving into games, learning mechanics, like I've even like bred competitive Pokemon teams for no reason, just because it's fun and it's something to learn for me. To give a little insight about me, I think learning it, and I have been learning it somewhat, and like getting better and seeing yourself improve is really fun for me. On the other hand, I totally agree with people like you and other people who said that it's a really hard mechanic and it's not something that a casual player should face against, and it's not something, if it was never meant to be a thing, that should be a thing, just like you said, dude, if it's gone, it's gone. The developers have seen it. They said, no, that's not what we want in a game. Take it out, right? And there's nothing we could do, especially because it's a free game. I didn't pay $60 for this.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, in my opinion, I'm still back and forth. I know I have friends who are all about it, who want who want to stay in. I have more friends that are more on the casual side that are definitely not about it. And at the end of the day, there's one thing I want. Please stop breaking Watson, because they broke Watson again this patch to make her half functional, and that makes me mad. And I'm a Watson main, and that's right. Yeah, if somehow somebody at Respawn hears this, please fix her. Please make her good again or decent. Love what you guys are doing. Pretty good game, but please, please, please quit adding more bugs. I want to play a game and not be afraid that half the time I'm gonna crash out of it. Speaking of the crash, you know what's funny about it too?
What?
So people have discovered that if you don't have any of the loading and like there's animations for when your like character loads in, and if you don't have any of the cutscene ones or the ones that play like a little video, I don't, there's a term for it, but it's just not coming to me. Like if you have a banner pose that isn't animated, there we go, and you just use the default ones, it lessens your chance to crash.
Really?
So people have found out that the bug is related to the banner poses, and I don't know how, because those banner poses have been in the game for a long time. But if you just have the default one, it lessens your chance to crash. And look, I'm not a developer expert. I'm sure there's a lot of spaghetti code built into Apex just by default, just for being what it is. But man, like, do you think that something got internally horribly messed up, or do you think just some new addition they made just messed with everything?
It's just anytime they fix one patch, it could mess something else up. So it fixes one, but it breaks another thing. And that's, I think, the biggest takeaway that I'm thinking from this story is that they don't beta test. That's so crazy. There's no beta server. That's
No,
bananas.
no. Like it seems they only internally test with them. Actually, there is a slight kind of beta test they do, but it's more just for content, for getting the word out than I think it is to test. From what I've noticed, the last 3 seasons, that they have a bunch of these famous Apex streamers and content creators come play the game like 2 weeks before everybody else, and then they share their news, share it on media, talk about the new season. Life goes on, but nothing seems like it's fixed. Does that make sense?
That's not a beta server. That's just like publicity.
Yeah, exactly. So they definitely have like a beta build that they always have. But the word I seem to get from all these streamers I watch, like Lulu and all them, they tell me that they don't tell me specific. They don't go, "Hey Marty, like got some news for you." But they seem to like pass around the word that the version they play is pretty much the final version because we usually just get what they played.
Hmm,
So they're
that's
just
crazy.
doing it. They're doing it for publicity. They have time, somewhat like 2 weeks isn't that long, but they have a way to like make private beta servers or something like that to test them out. But they don't. They just do it all internally.
That is crazy.
So yeah, that is the story of Apex. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but so far that just seems to be the message for me. All right, well that's about it for all of our small news today. Moving on to the big things, or yeah, we'll just say big things for now. Starting first is the Final Fantasy XIV Job Showcase. I myself am a player of the MMORPG. Ernie used to play the MMORPG. You kind of want to share your experience?
Yeah, I started off with Final Fantasy 11. It was a wild, wild ride. Started playing 14, and it was a hot, hot mess. And then a year later, they fixed it, and I played for a while. And it's a blast. I like Final Fantasy. I like the MMOs. It's a good game. It's fun.
Yeah, I enjoy the game. I don't. Okay, I think a friend better described it, so I'll just use his words. I play the game not because I enjoy the gameplay, because in actuality, the gameplay gets boring and very repetitive for me, and that's just the nature of an MMORPG. But the high of it is that you're grinding for something, you're working towards a goal. So I understand that a lot. I do. Um, in no ways do I diss that. However, for me, even with new trials and all that, it's really boring. It just becomes micromanagement. Like I need to figure out when I want to use this OGCD, and to translate, I'm just gonna say this term OGCD from now on. But to translate what that means, off global cooldown, meaning something you use that's not part of your normal attack rotation. So all it becomes is I just need to manage which OGCD is used when should I save this, so on and so forth. And it's just like it doesn't it doesn't feel very impactful. And I know that's an MMORPG, so it's the point of teamwork. But like it's like when I play FF7 remake and I smack someone with a giant sword, the sword the same size I use in FF14. Do I feel more? What's the word? Not appreciated. What's the word here? Ernie?
Powerful.
No. Crap. What's it called? Fulfilled? I think.
Okay.
Do I feel more fulfilled smacking someone as Cloud Strife with this giant Buster Sword than I do in FF14? And I think that's an easy answer to answer, or easy question to answer.
Yeah,
All right.
it's no. I was gonna say yeah. So with me, it's always been about the playing with friends, the camaraderie. Um, that's what it's about. It's always when you play Final Fantasy 7 remake or 15 or whatever that you play by yourself, you do your little grind, your quests. But 14 is all about the community.
Yeah. So I guess that's what it is. And I guess that's why my friend believe it or not, it's actually not for everyone like that. I have a friend who like plays just to play. He will do it by himself. But my friend described it to me that Marty, you tend to play because you treat it like a social platform. You treat it as a way to like meet with people or meet new people even and like make some friends. And I'm just like, yeah, that's exactly it. I don't, I'll run dungeons and stuff, but only with them. I have a hard time leveling by myself because it's boring. It really is. So, and not to like all the friends I made, I still talk to a lot of them. Shout out to Moon, or Egg or Gogo or however you want to go. But like, I still talk with a lot of them, and like, we message each other back and forth. Egg Gogo, I'm just gonna call you Gogo from here on out. Gogo has even sent me something for New Year's not too long ago. So it's just really nice. The community is really nice. At the end of the day, though, like if some super fun MMORPG took over and everyone was playing that, I think I would switch in almost a heartbeat.
Yeah, we're gonna go play WoW.
Some bigger MMO that it doesn't have a lot of problems right now, or people are fleeing from.
Mm.
Because have you noticed a lot of streamers and YouTubers of
Oh
WoW
yeah,
have moved
yep,
over
yep.
to
I've
FF14
noticed.
now?
I'm part of a Facebook group, and people are posting like, "Why I'm in queue to get in the server, and there's like 200 people in front of me. What the hell?"
Yeah, you know, actually, a little funny thing on the Square Enix store, they actually put it marked as they ran out of copies for the digital edition of FF14 Online.
I remember reading that they stopped selling it because they had so many people. They just like, nope,
Yeah,
we're sold out of the digital
yeah.
code. Wow. All right.
I don't know if that's ever happened in video game history, but I think it's really funny.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Uh, but anyway, I could share about a bunch of opinions for FF14, but that's just kind of to preface that what my thoughts are about the new job showcase going into it. So starting off, I was watching this and I sort of just wanted to watch the job trailer. In fact, after the job action trailer, I stopped watching the rest of it because I didn't much care. And I'll shorten this as much as possible. But Dragoons, they get to do more dragon stuff in case that was a concern. Um, yeah, I was watching it and they do like, Hanzo's ultimate, like the little spinning two dragons.
Hmm.
They get like that for one of their ranged abilities, I guess. Um, So that's neat in case you wanted to play Dragoon. Monk, they no longer have a shoulder charge. That's all I remember. And they like are getting a big rework. And now they have like a new gap closer. And if you were a Monk main and you loved it, which I heard a lot of Monk mains didn't, I apologize to you. I really do.
Hey, so
Uh,
if you were a monk main and you hated it, why were you a monk main?
some people are masochists.
Mm, mm,
And I think they like the idea of like punching, but they just like, there's no other punching classes in FF14. Because
that's
and this
true.
is, this is a complaint I had. Everything is a sword. Everyone's almost every class has a sword. Um, there are
Uh,
axes, there are lances.
excuse me, I'm a scholar. I use a book,
Yeah, a book is just a sword for the brain.
a blunt sword.
A very blunt sword. It's gonna become a sword eventually. No,
Yeah.
but like here to showcase. Ninja was the first class added after post launch, technically, after
Right.
even Rome Reborn. It was two daggers, which is fine. Two daggers is kind of unique. But Heaven's Word came out. You had your machinist, gun, you had your astrologian, bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, that's team, and you had a Dark Knight, which I know Dark Knight was very different in FF11 because it was a DPS class, right?
Dark Knight was a DPS class. Yeah, yeah. He had a big old scythe, and um, he was interesting. Never leveled it myself, but yes, damage.
In FF14, they made it a tank with a giant sword, a claymore, if you
Not
will.
even not even a scythe, a scythe, whatever it's called.
No, but we'll get to that. You might want to save some of that for later.
All right.
So Stormblood, they had two new classes. A samurai, because we traveled to FF14 Japan or Kugane,
Right.
um, and samurai sword, right?
Mhm.
The other class they added, and they added two DPS classes. There was no healer or tank added. The other class was a red mage, and red mage has a little crystal thing, but the thing they're usually using is a rapier, a sword, a poke
Mhm.
sword.
Right.
Fun, cool, right?
Yeah.
Move to Shadowbringers, the recent one, at least for another 2 months. Uh, New classes added: Gunbreaker, and what was the other class? I actually just forgot. What was the other class they added?
I don't remember. I remember Gunbreaker because you just said it.
Gunbreaker. Oh, and Dancer.
Oh,
Um,
that's right, the dancer. You know what? I remember because I stopped playing for a while and I came back for Shadowbringer, and every time I would do a random dungeon, there was always one, if not two, dancers in the group.
yep,
Always.
yep. Because and when Endwalker comes out, there's a funny joke, but it's true. When Endwalker comes out, you better watch because everyone's gonna be every dungeon team is gonna be the paladin because it's the new title class, like the one that like the Warrior of Light himself is using. Reapers and Sage. That's gonna be every dungeon team
Yeah.
for like the first 2 months. But anyway, Gunbreaker, another sword, gun sword, cool, but sword. Dancer, not really swords, but they're chakrams with blades
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
of the
Yeah. Yeah.
time. So, and then Endwalker, these are the two new coming out, and this is where I say hold your argument or excitement or whatever. There's Sage. Sage is a new healer that uses four floating Gundam swords. No joke.
Nice.
Yeah, so more swords. I hope you're excited for that. Also, apparently Scholar got like hard nerfed or is getting the short end of the stick, so you might want to change profession soon.
Well, I mean, I just have to change a book, and I'm a summoner now.
Well, actually, yeah, we'll dive into that. But Sage, four floating swords, and you can heal and you look cool. The other class is now the Scythe class, the Reaper.
What?
And they're a DPS. They're I think what Dark Knight probably should have been.
How does the that class work?
I remember we only got the job showcase, but
Fair.
they're very mobile. They have attributes of a dragoon and a black mage combined. You know how a black mage can like move between ley lines, like that's kind of their movement to get in and out of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Black Reaper, not Black Mage, Reaper has this portal move where he can teleport in and out to get in and out, and say like there's an AOE that's like really close, you could do your finisher and quickly get out. And they otherwise look a lot like Dragoon. They do some spinnies. Their level 90 max skill seems to be that they transform into this demonic Reaper thing and like get a big damage boost or damage boost and do something akin to inner release on Warrior. So they don't really, they might have explained more into it after the fact, but like those streams go on for like 4 hours, man. And I didn't have 4 hours of time to just watch a whole stream.
Damn, that's a lot.
But yeah, Reaper just looks like Dark Knight. They have all these cool magical like spinny things, melee and all that.
So the way the Dark Knight worked in 11 was his big move was he would start stealing your life as he did damage. So whatever damage he did, he would suck the life out of you, kind of like a heal.
That could have been a thing. I remember seeing some like weird like soul absorption thing. So that could be like, again, someone can easily answer this for me, whoever watched all 4 or 5 hours, but I feel like that just is a thing. But yeah, so a lot of blades, and I know blades are a very efficient weapon, and a lot of people think they look cool. But like I've said this before, I kind of wish like a Morning Star was thrown in there. I don't know, give me something like even some of the monk weapons, some of them get blades put onto them.
Really?
Yeah, like some of the relics or like unique weapons, they just add a knife to your wrist and you just punch with it.
Yeah, well, now you're punch stabbing people. I get it.
Yeah, but like, Morning Star, give me some of like, I know Final Fantasy isn't entirely medieval. Even though like back in the day it was different. When people think Final Fantasy, usually they think of 7 nowadays, but it's it's been back and forth, especially the way 16 is shaping up to be. But I don't know, man. Give me some unique non super sharp weapon. Give me a giant hammer. Give me, I don't know, nunchucks. I don't know.
I think you're playing too much Monster Hunter.
Maybe, but like, see, that's why I like Monster Hunter a lot. They have a lot of cool weapons. Half of them are blades, sure, but
yeah,
I mean, like, like Gunblade is pretty cool. I'm speaking of both FF14 and no, it's Gunlance and Monster Hunter. But Gunblade and FF14 is pretty cool. But like, it's still a sword, and it still acts like a sword and looks like every other sword. In fact, it's funny, since Machinist came out before Gunblade, some of the Machinist weapons could be Gunblades easily, because they were just guns that had knives at the end of them. They did that for Machinist. They just put knives at the end of them. Like, oh, we hear you like swords like everybody else in this game. Guess what? Your gun got a sword. You're welcome. And then they like walked out like Exhibit does.
Look, you know Square Enix says, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're the #1 MMO in the world. People like swords. No one's complaining.
They do. They like swords, but like, people, I guess the Scythe is finally like a middle ground, because a lot of people, like Josh even, wanted scythes. But you know what they did to kind of like convenience people for a little bit? They released a cosmetic scythe where you could have like skinned it over your Dark Knight weapon or even your White Mage cane for some reason. And you had a Edda Black Bosom scythe, and that was kind of neat. But now like an actual scythe is coming out, so if you own it, sorry.
Wow.
Go become the new class. Don't worry, you will. Everyone will. Everyone's gonna be it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay a Dark Knight main because I don't want to learn. Like my Paladin's level 80. but I really just don't want to bother. That being said, let's jump into the job classes, or a little bit more. Speaking of Paladin, Paladin now has an additional 3 move damage rotation. Reminder, they already have 2. They have their physical and their magic one. But this new one, Requiescat, apparently applies its additional effect regardless of current MP. And I'm not a big Paladin main, but from what I remember, Requiescat was like a thing you activated and it increased your MP damage, or like it added some effect with like increased damage, but like based on how much MP you had or was missing. I think how much you had, right?
I don't remember.
Something like that. But they're changing it that Requiescat now does the bonus damage regardless of how much MP you have. So now you don't have to micromanage MP.
How does a paladin play in Final Fantasy 14?
How do I put this? They are the jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal, but that makes them the best in a game like FF14, where they just have a lot of mitigation. They have 2 damage rotations. They can adapt to any scenario, and you almost always want one on your team because of all this. So how do I put this? They're just basic sword and shield guy. You run in, you slap him around. Oh no, the boss says you can't be close anymore. You use your magic rotation to hurt him from a distance. You do some magic damage. You go back in. You pull him over here. Just it's basic. It's very basic.
I mean, because in Final Fantasy 11, they were just a big tank that'll provoke, but the way you kept threat was you would just heal yourself. You would throw a heal, and that would create more threat from the monster.
That was go on.
No, and that's just how. And then I when I played Final Fantasy 11, I was God, what are they called? The potato boys? What are they called? The little.
Oh, Lalafell and 14, but I don't know what they're called anymore.
Yeah, well, they're Tarus in Final Fantasy 11, and your race mattered in 11 because your stats mattered. So the Taru, the Lafalel, whatever, had no HP, and so like when I was a paladin, a Taru, I would come in, hit with my sword, and just spam heal 3, heal 3, heal 3, because like it would almost one shot me, but I would heal myself so much, I would get so much threat, and I was like, that's how I play paladin, just keep spamming heal, 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 heal.
Huh. Okay, so so yeah, no, you would have liked Stormblood maybe, because there was a time in Stormblood I remember where it was more worthwhile for the paladin to go in and draw the aggro and use his, because he has a heal clemency, but it's not really used that often anymore, at least, where he would just heal himself and your white mage would just DPS, and that'd be a faster, better strat.
Yeah, see, and that's like, again, I'm old. I'm old. The healer heals, the tank tanks. Like when I remember playing 14, they're like, hey, trooper, you're a scholar and you're not damaging. I'm like, yeah, I'm a healer. Like, no, damage. I'm like, wait, what do you mean damage? I'm healing. What do you mean? What's going on right now? Yeah, that was weird for me. That was an adjustment.
In that case, you won't like some of these changes. Here's another one. Samurai will gain the effects of Jinpu and Shifu when performing AoE combos. Now, I don't know what that means because I don't play Samurai and I don't watch anyone that plays Samurai. Whenever I look at a Samurai, I just know they're doing a lot of damage because usually they do. But I assume that means like you get some buff from your big AoE, so now like you're not losing damage. But here's the one that will make you upset. White Mage now has an additional flower which adds additional healing as they go, freeing them up for some nice DPS. I that's exactly as I read it.
Yeah, and I get it. A lot of people didn't like healing because like I don't want to stand back and heal. I want to, damage. And then now, they're letting everybody damage. So, you can play whatever class you want because everyone's damaging.
Yep. So more DPS, and that seems to be, if there's one thing I caught from the showcase, was that more DPS across the board, more time to do things. You no longer have to worry as much about other people, or at least trying to. I mean, if you just have a teammate that's new or just isn't doing as hot, you're just gonna have to heal him. It happens, but
Yeah.
here's one, and this is why I think you would be excited. I know you're a scholar, but I think you'll like this. Summoner now has full-size summons. They're conditional, but after years of pleading, and I'm reading this from Attack of the Fanboy, by the way. After years of pleading, players will finally get to see Titan, Garuda, and Ifrit in all their glory fighting beside them.
Yeah, playing Final Fantasy 11, I had a summoner and having I remember when I first played Final Fantasy 11, it was out in Japan for about a year before we got it. So we got it a year later. And then I remember running like, "Oh, go kill that little worm." And this Japanese player just standing there with this massive titan. I'm like, "Oh my God, what is this? What is going on?" It blew my mind. So then I had to do my thing and I unlocked the summoner eventually and I loved it. And then I went to 14 and I'm playing the summoner in 14 and I get these little spirits of the
Yep.
summons. Not the same.
Yep.
Not the same.
Say goodbye to your chicken nuggets, everybody. That's what people call the Tayanegi. Because
Yeah.
that I remember watching it, and that was the one thing that got me excited, but also has me a little worried, and for this reason. Really, really cool. Finally, it took what 4 expansions, but we finally get to have these giant primals like be what they're supposed to be. Um, this is what scares me a little though. Bahamut, which was like the one of the two things you could summon before,
Hmm.
Bahamut was already large and took up so much of my screen. And I don't even play summoner. I'd just be a tank and Bahamut would just be like, "Hey, what's up?" and spread out his wings and be like, "Cool." 60% of my view is gone. Now I'm gonna have that with every primal. Titan's gonna come out and just be like, "All right, man, you can take the screen."
You know what? You know what I say, Marty? You know what I'm going to tell you? Get a bigger
What?
screen.
Oh my god, dude! I already play super zoomed out, and I'm an Elizin, so like my camera's like even more already like farther out because I'm just taller. But
Uh huh.
like I'm not. I don't want to just like. I'm just like doing my tank thing, and then just Garuda just appears and spreads out their wings and does like their cool move. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my
because
god.
that's what made the summoner so cool. You felt so powerful. Some of these big old monsters and just, go smash or something. Now you get like these little things, just pew pew. Not
Oh,
the same.
give it about 2 months, and everything you ever wanted, it will be there. Trust me, you'll be able to
Magical.
summon them, and you still have Bahamut and Phoenix with you. So I
Nice.
mean, I'm not saying switch to summoner, but like it's not that hard for you compared to me.
Yeah, I may have to.
But summoner, yeah, full size summons. I think it's if there's anything, I think this was the coolest thing they gave to us from what I remember off the top of my head. Another one before I go a little bit more deeper, Dark Knight. And look, you could tell me they got stuff of some sort, but I was watching Dark Knight because I'm a big Dark Knight fan because Cloud Strife has always been a cool character to me. I love the super giant sword that like really should be very unwieldy, but like you just happen to swing it around like nothing. I think that's a super cool trope. And so Dark Knight spoke out to me, and they're very edgy. I'm not one for being edgy, but like sometimes just like this whole like, oh, the darkness inside of me, imprisoning me, all that I see is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, let's see what we're gonna get. Literally nothing from Shadowbringers changed. Our little flood of shadow, the little like sword beam we shoot out, is bigger. And Salted Earth, which was like the little red dome that like Dark Knights would put down sometimes.
Yeah.
They fixed it because people were already complaining about it. That like you have to push it and place it exactly, and sometimes it doesn't exactly place.
Mm.
They fixed it where now you just like do a summoning jutsu thing where you like slam your hand on the ground and now it appears around you, so it's like an AOE. But I don't know if I like that fix. But I mean, I think the community accepts it. I think for me, I want something to be hard. I'll say it like that because the more they keep dumbing down things, the more I just go, I want things to be hard. Like I miss Abyssal Arts or Dark Arts Abyssal Drain spam Dark Knight, where you really had to watch your MP, and you were super squishy, but like you would spam Dark Arts and Abyssal Drain at the right times, and like play that play that balance game of life and death. Just be that close, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, again, playing Final Fantasy 11. That's all it was. I mean, it was brutal. I think you would like Final Fantasy 11.
probably I could still they still servers are still up, but
Yeah, but I think they like nerfed it and they patch it, and it's not the same as playing it when it was like live. It was
uh,
insane.
well, I kind of missed that. And in Shadowbringers, I get it because like having two tank stances and all this was just like super micromanaging. But now I'm kind of like, take me back. I'll be a little honest. Take me back. And Walker is going to be more quality of life changes, but at some point, I want a genuine challenge of some sort when everything starts becoming the same for everybody, where playing the different tanks doesn't feel that different with each other. Because, like, I've been leveling Gunbreaker. I'll tell you right now, it doesn't feel all that different from Dark Knight. I do more damage, I guess, because I guess they're the most DPS, but like I'm a tank. I'm not really there to damage.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I think the only fix would be to change to DPS anyway. But Dark Knight looked like they got nothing. They still have the cool like shadow persona thing, which is fine. That should have stayed, but everything else just looks about the same. All that really changed was that they fixed Salted Earth, and I think the Blackest Night is going to be upgraded to something better. And if you don't know, the Blackest Night was like the mitigation, the thing that makes Dark Knight stand out at least compared to the rest of the tanks was that on a 15-second cooldown and for the cost of 3k MP, you could put a shield, like an overshield on someone, on anybody, and like it would take health from the shield, which I know you're saying like a scholar or somebody already does it. But when you would break it, it would add more to your I forget what it's called, and I call myself a Dark Knight main. The darkness.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. Just start throwing booze at me, please. The darkness timer or something like that. It's like a 60-second timer. It would like add to that or allow you to do a flood of shadow or the other one for free and without having to use MP. And so it was a nice touch. It was a nice change. But again, this kind of just dials back to my tanks aren't feeling different. I'm not really feeling like I'm doing anything. At the end of the day, I'm just here to play with friends, but otherwise not at all.
Sounds
And
like
yeah,
you're having a. It sounds like you're having a crisis there, buddy.
yeah, I'm very sad about it. It just kept me up every night. No, I mean at the end of the day, I still got a lot of other games, but like I want to like FF14 as much as everybody else. I do, but I like look at the game from the outside. I feel and just go, like that game is gonna be there, and I just don't feel like I'm getting as much as I want from out of it. Does that make sense?
Maybe just in a different job class.
Maybe. I mean, I guess I could go back to DPS. Bard used to feel really fulfilling in Stormblood, in my opinion. Foes Requiem, all that stuff was cool, and then they dumbed it all down. Everybody has a base 10,000 MP.
Yeah.
They took away all my utility. They sort of added some of it back later, but it was just, yeah, man, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like mana doesn't matter anymore. That's right. I forgot they did that.
No, just everyone has the same NP. There's no more tension, which I guess I don't mind if the tension went away because like what tension was just MP for certain classes. Because like dragoons didn't really use MP, they just used tension. So I guess it was nice to like just remove it and have everyone use MP, if anybody. But I don't know. It just feels cookie cutter.
Yeah. Yeah, it
So
does.
so that's just my complaints. Um, all of my FF14 friends are gonna love hearing this one. They'll be like, "Wow, you're not enjoying it as much as I've told them already." But I apologize to all of you anyway. Anyway, here's the final big change, and it wasn't shown in the trailer, but in the live letter they talked about it, and I do remember this. Melee. This is actually a nice quality. It's a change. Melee combos will no longer be broken by ranged attacks. I don't know if you know what that means.
No, what's going on?
So you would have your melee combos, right? And like your 1, 2, 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes there are mechanics that force you to rotate or so on. So so you're not losing DPS. You just like throw an unmend for Dark Knight or throw something to keep doing range damage or use your magic stuff from Paladin, right?
Right.
Well, whenever you do that, it would reset your combo. Say you were at the second part of your combo, but you couldn't finish the third because you needed to rotate, and you threw an unmend, it would just wipe it. That combo, like you now have to start over.
Oh, okay.
But now your combo stays. So like if you need to rotate and you're a warrior and you know do tomahawk, I think it's called tomahawk. You could do it, and then you could just gap closer back in when it's done and finish your combo. So like you don't lose anything.
Well, that's good,
So
right?
yeah, like I said, I think it's a generally world-rounded, appreciated uh, quality of life change. But like again, for me, I would have rather had the challenge be find a way or a gap to finish the combo instead. But again, Ernie, I think I'm on the same boat as you, and I'm younger than you, but I don't know, man.
I'm telling you.
Maybe I'm the weird one because
Hmm.
again, Josh and George are older than me, and they're all for this. But I just would love if I could just. I want the game to make me adapt, and this kind of goes back to the Apex thing, where I want the game to push me to get better. but it's the developer's vision, so I can only just accept it and just play or not at all. Tiny Tina's Wonderland. We talked about it in the Sony Live episode, but they released more details. GameSpot specifically, at least, did an interview with some of the developers and talked more about it. So I hope you don't mind that I just read into this a bit.
Oh, let's do it.
All right. Tiny Tina's Wonderland, and again, GameSpot.com. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, I don't know why I keep calling it Wonderland. Wonderlands is heavily D&D inspired, even more so than Assault on Dragon Keep. Inspired by the Dungeons and Dragons influence Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep DLC for Borderlands 2, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands leans even further into the structure, God, my words today, of tabletop role-playing games when it comes to its gameplay loop and overall structure. As examples, Wonderlands incorporates a more robust character creator and the option to multi-class. The loot shooter pulls from many mechanics of features that D&D fans will likely recognize. That's just the first paragraph. But I want to ask you, just hearing that, what does that make you think?
I mean, I don't know, dude. It sounds cool. I like everything, but every time I play a game and like there's like you can be like a shooter or you can be like something else, a machinist or a magical class. I always default to shooter. I always go like, well, guns. And so like I play Commander Mass Effect 3, I was always the commando or the gun guy. I never did any of the tech stuff for all 3 games. So I mean, I hope I can break that cycle and try something new here, but I don't know.
All right. I'll just continue reading, but for me, I'm actually like to mix it up. Like I like guns too, but like someone like Krieg in Borderlands 2, really fun because I could just run around and smack people. So I guess it's just a difference of play styles, really.
Yeah.
Here we go. Your voice, your appearance, all of that is independent. Tiny Tina's Wonderland senior producer Kayla Belmore told GameSpot. You get to choose your own voice and some other fun stuff that we can't dive into yet. But it goes into even your character's personality, not just aesthetics, and it's all independent. You can look and sound however you want within those sets of choices. We don't really tie the player into any one thing. Not even every future is humanoid. You can have shark fins in your head or look like an orc. Now, to me, and I know it's just simple creation stuff, it's slightly exciting because they're definitely writing on this multi-class idea. So that's already just, it doesn't, aesthetically speaking, it doesn't feel like they just copy and pasted BO3 over again. I still have those concerns, but I mean, think about it. You don't have to look like Mose. You don't have to look like Axton. You don't have to look like a specific character. You could make your character look however you want. You want to be some halfling? I'm sure it's possible. Whatever they decide to do. But that's
that sounds very cool. That sounds very, very cool.
So I think that's great. I'll just skip ahead a little bit. There's 2 different aspects of our character creation, Belmore said. One is the aesthetic piece where you can choose what you look like, and then there's the character classes. Each character class will have abilities that our fans are accustomed to seeing, and deeper into the game, you'll be able to have the option to multi-class. The ability to multi-class will supposedly allow for players to put together some bizarre but powerful combinations. When I asked how that could work, and this got me excited reading this. When I asked how that could work, using the hypothetical of a player combining Borderlands 2's Gunzerkers with Borderlands 3's Siren as a possible example, Belmore confirmed I was on the right track. Now that sounds, and again, I'm going to curse you, epic to me. You have no idea how cool that sounds to me. The idea, like, I don't think they meant 1 for 1. They're going to put Gunzerker and Siren in from the respective games, but like the idea of being able to like maybe have a turret thing and also be able to phase lock something is really cool.
Yeah, I like those games where you're either base building or character building. So if you got like go do quests and unlock kits or abilities, I'm all for it. I'm all in.
But yeah, does that has instilled a lot of hope in me. And just looking at some of these, like, I'm assuming like player created characters. I don't think these are NPCs. It really just does look like you can just make whatever. Like it just really looks detailed. But it's not an easy way to transfer that to voice. But here's what more they said on top of that. You'll choose your primary class, and then later in the main story, you will be able to slot a secondary class and mix and match those 2 classes in skill trees. That's your character for the campaign, Cox added. But once you beat the plot, you will be able to go back and respec your secondary class. So you have to stick with your primary class, but you can try a different secondary. So pretty much what they're saying is that it's still Borderlands style, where like your class is your class, but your secondary could be whatever. So let's imagineer. That's not the right word. That's coined by Disney, I think. Let's imagine for a second that you pick having some turret because Borderlands as your main class. Your secondary class can be a mix of a lot of things, and I think that's still exciting.
Um, so does that mean you could your secondary class? You could just does it mean secondary like your other one, or like your secondary, your second ability, not your main ability? So it's not as strong as your main, but something else like a sub class almost.
Yeah, it's because they only read it as secondary class, but I'm sure you could say like subclass and probably like means the same thing.
Well, I mean, it adds diversity to the game, so you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and it still gives me an ability or a reason to make a second character. Because in Borderlands, like I beat it with one character, but like once I've done it, like sometimes I just want to go back, play with a new character, and do that. Well, I can still do that because primary classes are locked, but now with more versatility per character. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm super excited for that. But here we go. Your ability to shape your character doesn't end there. There's more to do beyond the skills you'll unlock via your primary and secondary classes. You also have hero points to spend as well in very classic Dungeons and Dragons attributes. Cox said, and those all speak to different things like a melee attribute or a spell attribute or a skill cooldown attribute. It's like a character sheet. And I'm just going to go ahead and skip a little bit more ahead and let me see if I can find it. But here we go. These are the attributes I think they were talking about. Oh, I didn't find it.
Lies.
Yep, I'm sorry. I just lied to everybody. This is a very long article. Like you would not. If I just sat here and read it, we'd be here for about 30 minutes. But I mean, isn't that kind of exciting when a article or like a game coverage or something like that like covers something and like it just keeps on going. And you're like, wow, there's a lot more here than I thought they'd say.
Yeah, we just have to be, not. I can't get too excited. I've been burned too many times. Like, obviously, this is a press thing. 2K is or 2K is doing this for publicity. They're gonna say all the right things. They're saying the right things. I'm excited, but I just hope it, at the end, it just pulls through.
Me too. But here's I found it. And again, I share all those concerns. At least I, on the other hand, did not buy No Man's Land day one, and I know somebody who did.
Did I?
If not you, Josh did for sure, but I almost feel like you might have as well.
No, I think I bought it used at a GameStop.
Yeah, no, Josh
Yeah.
Josh bought it day one, and I don't think he was happy.
Look, I bought Cyberpunk day one, so I'm no better.
No, well there you go. I've been burned a couple times. Pre-sequel was my biggest burn, I think. But here we go. According to Cox, you'll be able to put hero points into your strength, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, constitution, and attunement. Does all that sound familiar?
Yeah, it's all. Yeah.
It's all D&D. These
Yeah.
hero points are separate from the skill points that you'll also earn throughout the game. Skill points apply to the more traditional skill trees, like in the Borderlands style, where you can unlock new abilities and perks. Hero points build out your character so they can more easily specialize as a specific class. So, to me, that just says more and more versatility. Now, I know attunement isn't an original D&D stat. I think in place of attunement is charisma, but I don't know how charisma would work in a game like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why if I put points in intelligence, do I shoot smarter? Like, how does that
Uh,
work?
I don't think they said. All they added on top of that was that there's one unique attribute that lives outside the list of hero stats, and that's luck. And apparently, you only increase that or you affect it. They don't even say increase by completing an end game challenge. So that's it. But otherwise, no, I mean, I'm gonna assume it's D&D, where like if because again, there are runes in Magic where I think right here it says I'll just shorten it where like it affects your like how often you can use your ability, how often or how fast you reload, or how fast you move, or like your melee strength.
Oh, so intelligence can be like your cooldowns.
Yeah, so I have to imagine it's cooldowns.
Okay, that could be cool.
So I think I like that, but they also slightly talk about the campaign. So I'll just going back to reading it. But before you reach the end game, you'll have to overcome the main campaign of Wonderlands, and that means dealing with Tiny Tina. And here's what I think is interesting and excites me. So just Got this down. I'll talk about it a little bit. Wonderlands takes place immediately after Dragon Keep, like that Borderlands 2 DLC, right after that. So Tina is back to her rambunctious 13-year-old self, as opposed to the older, slightly more adjusted 20-year-old Tina seen in Borderlands 3. And that's what I was kind of worried about. Not that I don't like 20-year, or I almost said the wrong words and probably got a lot of people upset. I don't dislike 20-year-old Tina. In fact, 20-year-old Tina still feels almost the same, just now she's an adult, but she's still crazy. However, there's something about a 13-year-old being crazy than a 20-year-old being crazy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess it like adds more charm. Like where you're just like this kid is just off the hinges. Like I don't know what they're gonna do next. A 20-year-old crazy person is almost borderline a psycho, and I think that's the point. Where you're just like, oh, they're crazy. Like they could be an enemy almost.
Yeah. Like they're helping me, but they could stab me at any point.
Yeah. So like in a story perspective, it just feels nice to like hear that or to read that. Because if the 13-year-old stabs me, whatever, man. it's funny, but anyway, as the bunker master, Tina is in control of the campaign, and so much like Dragon Keep, she'll step in to set the scene, crack jokes, or roleplay akin to a D&D Drugin master, by the way, dungeon master. That's one of the great things about Tina, that chaotic energy, Belmore said. It lends itself so well to the idea of a tabletop RPG where you have this unhinged bunker master, and she absolutely will shape the world in the way that sees fit, which has huge effects on everything. The story itself is not reactive. It's like Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, where it's just Tina playing out the plot line. So, in a way, that's good. In a way, that's bad. You could look at it both ways. But they're telling me this DLC I like is more of that. So for me, that's not bad, but I want to hear your spin on it.
For some reason, I never beat that expansion, so it's all going to be new to me. Everything they're saying, I like. I like the D&D twist. I love Borderlands, especially Borderlands 2, and it's taking straight out of that. So I'm excited. I have nothing but high hopes for this.
Yeah, and here is one thing, and I'll even send you an image, but look this image over while I read this out loud. And I'm just going to send it in Slack probably. Yeah, here we go. So, some of that plotline will now take on a third-person perspective, another departure from the Borderlands formula, which always plays out in both gameplay and cutscenes, in first person. When traveling from place to place, Wonderlands will pan out to a tabletop view, where you'll see yourself and your allies if playing co-op as miniatures.
I've seen this photo. Yeah, I mean, it looks good.
I think that's a cute little idea where they won't exactly have this fast travel system, or maybe they will, but like when you go from place to place of import, you'll just be on this overworld map. And I think like, it lends itself to, it's really trying to drive hard home that it's not just stupid, chaotic, funny, like poop jokes kind of energy in Borderlands. It's now trying to drive that like, this is also for those nerds who are tabletop, almost elitist, and I could say this being one myself. Oh, well, not an elitist, but tabletop nerd, where we're really trying to like add in these nice things for you. We're really trying to like evolve and improve upon what Assault on Dragon Keep was. And as a Borderlands fan, this gives me a lot of hope that I just was not having last week about it. But I can repeat that over and over. But going back in, we call it the overworld. Belmore said, so one of the ways you can explore the greater world is through this pulled back third person view. We have a fairly linear main plot with tons of side missions. In addition, with some exploration, you can find these 5 optional maps that, if you're a tabletop RPG nerd, act like modules. So they are connected to the main story, but they are also their own standalone plots. You can have dynamic encounters, Cox added, so you can have a little enemy pop up and then you'll get transported seamlessly into first person combat where you do a small fight, get your loot, and pop back out to further explore the entire world. So Overworld really just acts like, compared to previous games we've done, as the big zone that connects all of the experiences. And the customization you choose actually shows up in your bobblehead character as well, Belmore excitedly said. So let me hear what you have to say before I add in my own thought.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying all the right things. It looks like it's different enough to from Borderlands, but still keeping some of the core energy there. But it feels like a whole new, brand new game. And I like what they're doing.
Yeah, and for me, I'll just focus specific on the module thing. I think that's gonna be like a nice little like if you're playing with friends and you're just like, running around the map and one of you goes like, "Oh, look, there's a module. You know, we can fight this mini boss or whatever," and just like, "Cool," and then you go and do it. It's like it's almost it's funny because as a DM, I hate it when this happens when my party goes, "Oh, look, there's a cool little thing. Let's go fight it." And not because like I don't want them to do it because I plan the fight. That's all on me. But like when they go and do it and they let it become their focus of the session, makes me go, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
But in a video game, especially like this sounds really cool. That like I might be distracted for hours and not really be all that upset about it if I could just keep farming side fights for some cool loot.
Yeah.
Like without a doubt. But moving on, they just seem to talk about the guns. They talk about like instead of having just a bunch of weapons, their focus is having fantasy weapons and like what they call the breadth of fantasy gear. So pretty much like having all these unique type of fantasy weapons instead of just throwing in all the guns throwing in some new ones. They really are trying to focus on having a variety. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like what? Like staffs and wands and stuff.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really say, but it seems like they mention. I read in here that they are adding crossbows and magic based barrels, and that's just when they're talking about guns. They don't really talk about like new weapon types. But I know in the trailer you see like someone swinging a sword, and so there probably is sword. I'm sure. No, wait, they do mention it. They added a new movement ability. So there's still the Borderlands because it runs on the Borderlands engine, where you slide, you do ground pound, and other related mechanics. But in Wonderlands, they're adding a new one, a melee focused one, where if you're just out of melee range when you melee attack, you will glide into your enemy. So I don't know if that means like for sure they're adding swords and hammers, but like I feel like if they're adding a whole new mechanic, don't you think they're adding like you know, swords and stuff?
Yeah. It sounds like it makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just at the end of the day, I could talk about this for a long, long time. But at the end of the day, they're saying the right things, and I know there are no game companies ever going to come out and say like, "Well, we tried really hard, but like it just wasn't coming out." And we're
Please
just
buy it anyways.
yeah, like it's $60, but I mean, a game will be there. Like you'll have something. I just don't think you'll like it, but like it's still it's still exciting. It's still super exciting. And this does ease my nerves a lot. March 23rd, 2022 cannot come soon enough. It really can. But do you have any final thoughts on Wonderlands, on the character customization, on spells? Because I could just say I'm excited for all of it. I'm really excited to see what I can do. I really hope I could do some really crazy stuff. It is kind of worrying that it's coming out on the PS4 and Xbox One for the one reason that I don't think this game's gonna run on those that well.
Yeah. I think that cell shaded art transfers well to multiple hardware. Like you don't need the high end stuff to make that art look good, right?
You don't. You definitely don't. But like it definitely looks like I don't know how to say it. Um by the way, let me throw in slightly real fast. An hour ago, because I think we've been recording since then, they released like a 6 minute persona video and it's all in Japanese. So I have no idea what's happening, but it just has Morgana sharing some kind of news. So
They haven't translated it yet.
I mean, apparently not. But reminder, it's the 20th in Japan. We're still not quite there.
Are they gonna do that thing where we get everything a year later?
Oh, I think one of the maybe because it's Atlas, but one of the things they're mentioning is that, as they always do, November 21st, we're getting a based symphonic concert. But they do those all the time, so that's not really anything new. All right, so for our final topic of the day, there has been a giant Nvidia GeForce leak, or just Nvidia or GeForce or both. I know they're the same thing, but I don't know. I feel like I have to separate the two.
No, they're the same.
Okay, so Nvidia GeForce leak. I wanted to not sound stupid, and then I equally sounded stupid for trying to correct myself. There was a big leak of guaranteed PC games, or probably just games in general, but usually just PC, where they revealed a bunch of games that are coming or going to come or have yet to even be announced. And this list was really big. Like I thought I was expecting like at most 20 to 30. It seemed like it was a little bit more than 20 to 30 games on this leak. And I read the article. I tried to fact check it as much as I could because with leaks, I always have to preface that they can come and go, and especially like someone that have been a part of the Smash community, leaks are very come and go, and Apex is like some of that. So I'm always wary. But the more I read the article and the guy explaining it, the more techie it became, and to the point where I was just like, I can't keep following along. I will trust your word, but I'm gonna throw the floor to you, Ernie, and I want you to tell me what games from this list you're most excited, because I'm looking through, and a lot of these sound like games that are coming around for sure, but none of them are really like, I'm so excited for that one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I don't think it's like, so these are games that are coming to PC. These are on the Nvidia server, so I don't know if they have drivers or it's for their Nvidia now and games are going to be able to play. And they got this data from their servers, and I don't know how they did that. If it was like data mined, or if it was leaked, or if it was hacked, I don't know. But we don't know how real or authentic this is. But like, there's just some weird, like, according to this leak, Uncharted, Legacy of Thieves edition, God of War. I mean, God of War coming to PC, that's pretty crazy. Demon Souls, Returnal, Ghost of Tsushima.
Especially because like PS4 or console exclusive at least game so far.
Yeah, but I think there was rumors that Ghost of Tsushima dropped where it said console. I think they got rid of only on PlayStation and they added console exclusive or something. So maybe there is, some truth. I don't know.
Yeah, and like those are from Sony at least. I'm looking through this, and a lot of these seem plausible. Like Gear 6, I'll point out, seems like something that should have already been at least talked about at some point by somebody. Because Gear 5 was a while ago. By the way, did you ever play Gears 5?
No, I stopped playing. I forgot which Gears I stopped playing.
I just, the Gear story is so good. I don't much care for the multiplayer, but the story is so good, and I'm just curious how 6 is gonna go, because Gears 5 did something I didn't think they ever did, where they make you choose, like make a choice that heavily impacts the story, and I don't know how that's gonna load into. I don't know how that's gonna go into 6. I just don't.
Hmm.
But like,
Yeah, but I mean, I think the news here is not that the fact that
yeah,
it was leaked that they announced, hey, Gear 6 coming, and Microsoft's like, what, dude? What are you doing?
yeah. Let me. Yeah, I just wanted to. I just want to say that out loud, but it's just like, yeah, no, I'm looking like Halo 5 Guardians feel like it should have been on PC already. So that like some of this has like a little bit of truth. Square Enix does have PC games. What's just interesting is just FF7 Remake. I feel is a game that's I thought was gonna stay PlayStation locked, and
No, it's coming to Xbox soon, I think.
is it?
They
Oh
got
wow, okay.
they
When?
got a year. I think it was like a year of exclusivity.
Huh. Well then, all right, then okay. I guess there's that. But like Kingdom Hearts 4, Resident Evil
Yeah,
4, like
but
this
but
this this feels like a list that like middle school me would have super believed, and that's what just makes me cautious about it.
yeah, the fact that Kingdom Hearts 4 hasn't been announced, Final Fantasy Tactics remastered, Final Fantasy 9 remake. I mean, these are games people want, but
Yeah.
not announced.
RE4 remake, Street Fighter 6, forever. People have wanted to move past 5. Monster Hunter 6, which, first of all, slightly interesting because Rise isn't that old. But I think I'm starting to come around to the conclusion, not exclusion, the conclusion that Monster Hunter Rise was kind of just a cash grab in a way, just like a come and go, just like here's this game, buy it, don't. You're probably gonna buy it anyway, and because ever since that last like story update, not much has really come out except for like small collabs.
No, but yeah, okay. I haven't beaten it. I got like rank 6 or something. I forget what I got, but remember, like the reason why I liked it, but I didn't like it as much as World is because when you play on World, it's this big world and you're exploring it, you're hunting. When you play on the Switch, you have to consider the battery. So each monster takes 10, 15 minutes tops. They
Yeah,
can't have an hour-long battle if you have a 2-hour battery.
yeah, I guess that's fair. But like, I'm reading through this and like Bioshock RTX remaster and Bioshock 2022, like dude, the Titanfall 3, which That one doesn't rub me entirely the right way because Respawn has gone and said so many times. It's been a few months, but like they always go like, "No, we're not working on Titanfall 3." Like I don't know where you keep hearing these rumors, and like clearly they're saying it just for the sake of saying. Like they have to cover. Like they're not gonna be like, "Oh, you caught us. Uh, guess we have to announce it." But they seem so vehement about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but also with Nintendo saying, "Oh, we're not releasing a new Switch," and then like a week later, like, here's the OLED.
Yeah. So I don't know, but like Tekken 8, again, all of the just like if Bayonetta 3, these are all games that people wanted for so long. I like how it says in parentheses no Persona 5, like as if the guy leaking this knew he was gonna get asked that ahead of time.
Yeah.
And like I can't blame him because there's so many like Persona fandom is pretty cool. I like looking at a lot of art, but just some of the people in there are very, very needy, I think is the right word. And so he just definitely prepared himself ahead of time. But I'm just XCOM 3, Destroy All Humans 3, Injustice 3. Like these are all games that like people have already asked about, and like companies and studios have said no. And just for like this leak to happen, feels like such a 180, like out of nowhere for the gaming community.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
I mean, just like it came from their servers and people are reporting it, so it's not like some guy made it up. Like I think the data leak really happened, and we just now have to decide if it's if these are just names, placeholders, if these are real. Like who knows?
And the fact that like none of this has been talked about in any way is like sort of what's holding like I think holding us back. But I think the moment even one company comes out and goes like uh Ghost of Tsushima to PC, suddenly this will get way much more credible just for that one. Because who's this? I don't think it should be played like a one is true, therefore they're all true kind of deal. But I've been around a lot of people and communities and the gaming community as a whole, and again, just from my experience from others, like Smash and all that, that when people see one of them confirmed, they usually believe the rest of the 99%.
Right, you're right, and that's true. But also, um, this list could be 100% true, but that doesn't mean they're all gonna get the light of day because games get canceled and
Yeah,
dropped, and so
yeah. So, I mean, the one that's interesting is unannounced title by Square Enix, which, if it doesn't really have a title, why would it be on the servers? I don't know. Maybe you have better insight about that, but I feel like that wouldn't be on there if not even like a working title. Like for a really dumb example, Project Triangle. You remember that? You remember that game they showed
yeah,
off?
yeah,
Or just like working title, but for now, Project Triangle. I was like, well, they're not wrong.
yeah.
By default, they're not wrong, but like they could have went with so many better names. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Just unannounced title just looks a little weird. Dragon's Dogma 2, which first of all, didn't think that'd be a game that would get a sequel. Just kind of looks weird. Titanfall 3, Untitled. I already said Titanfall 3, but Untitled Respawn game, another one. Tekken 8, I think they just wrapped up the recent season, so doesn't it feel too early, you know?
No, I mean I'm sure these games they're working on them for a long time before they
I
see
guess
the light
that's
of
fair.
day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know there's sometimes where they're working on a season of something, but they're already starting like they're in the planning phase.
Hmm.
Okay, well, if you had to pick a few games out of this list to be excited about, which ones would you?
XCOM 3 for sure. XCOM is such a good game. It's such a crazy game. I love it. Um, Let me see what else we got. The There was another one. Where's the list? Sorry, this list is massive.
It is,
Uh,
and like I'm only looking at the shortened version. I'm sure it says found right here. The article itself says found 18K plus games, and I'm not gonna look through 18,000.
yeah, Payday 3. I love Payday 2 so much. It's such a good game.
Do you
So,
think so? Go on.
um, I hope that that comes out. Death Stranding. I just bought the PC version. If I can upgrade it to the director's cut, I'm all about it. And I'll just give one more here that I would be excited for. Monster Hunter 6. I mean, I love Monster Hunter.
Yeah. Do you think Payday 3, like, okay, look, uh, how do I say this? Do you feel like Payday 3 would have like its prime time, or do you think like people would have already moved past the concept of Payday that like they would go back to it, you know? Because sometimes when you wait too long for a game, it also like hurts it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I feel like, I mean, there hasn't been like weekly or content drops, but I feel like they've been changing stuff still, so it's keeping the game somewhat fresh. So there's still stuff to do. I think that's when the game hurts when it doesn't change. There's no new bosses. There's no new nothing. No, I haven't played in a long. I haven't played Payday 2 in like a year or two, but when I kept popping my head in there, like stuff changed, new events, new missions, new something. So I mean, that's to
Yeah,
keep the game fresh.
yeah. I was gonna say, don't you think they should just keep changing Payday 2 and probably even like give it a like an expansion or overhaul of some sort? But do you think like a whole new game, like starting from the ground up, is like the call?
I mean, that game is old. I don't know what year it is, but they might bring in a new engine. Make it look better.
I guess that's fair. You know, it's not something we could talk too much about without even an image, but
Right.
that was just my slight concern.
But that game has been reported as true because they just went bankrupt, or they went. This was like a year ago. They went bankrupt, or maybe I think it was pre-COVID. They went bankrupt, and then the last game they did was this Walking Dead game that flopped. So they were trying to sell the company, but they were trying. I think they said they're working on Payday 3, and they're trying to salvage it, and they're trying to distribute it, or they're trying to do something. So people have been talking for Payday 3 for a while. So they know it's out there. They know they're working on it, but
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I guess if there's like already pre-made hype, then that's good in a way. For me, the one game that sticks out, and not for any of the right reasons, is Kingdom Hearts 4. Now, I don't know if you remember me as a kid, but I was a big Kingdom
hmm
Hearts fan. Emphasis on was. They made 17 whole spin-offs, and I've tried to play a lot. But look, when you're a kid and you need to own three different consoles to get a coherent story, you kind of just drop it. And so when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, I own it, but like I'm afraid to play it. Like I bought it for $10, but I'm afraid to play it because like I feel like I'm gonna go in there and they're like, oh, remember that the Game Boy one that like they remade to 3D, but it still sucks. You gotta go back and play that one and like beat it, Marty. Like you gotta power through it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. So like Kingdom Hearts 4 sticks out to me because there was only the one rhythm game since 3 and now. And they already said the rhythm game's canon, so that's its own ordeal. But I'm considering how long it took for 3 to come out, I know like the list says like these are games for years to come. 4 still feels way too soon. Because it does.
yeah,
It feels
well,
way too soon.
right, and they might be working on it, but it may not come out for another 5 years.
Yeah. So like
So
just reading Kingdom Hearts 4 just is so weird to me right now. 3 came out what, 2, 3 years ago?
I don't remember, dude. With COVID, who knows?
Yeah. Resident Evil 4 remake, I'm excited for because I played 2, I played 3 remake. I thought they were both great. 2 better than 3, but that's for its own reasons. Um 4 is the one that I think really turned it on its head, and I think you could say more about that than me because I remember just watching you play it one time on like the GameCube.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's a fun action game. I felt like it deviated from the not the story, but like the gameplay. Like it became less survival horror and more action shoot 'em up. And 5 did the same thing, and 6 I don't remember because I played for 10 minutes and I traded it back in because it was awful. But I like the 1, 2, 3 more. Um, versus the
So
4, 5, 6. But I
so
get it. People love 4. They love the gameplay. They love how it's more action. But I mean, it's good. I'll play it, but it just wasn't my
I
preferred.
think I played 4 once, and it is an interesting spectator game, and I say that because I sometimes watch speedruns. If there's not a podcast I want to listen to, just having a speed run happen in the background is interesting. And I watched one for Resident Evil 4, and I was like, dude, if I saw this as a kid, I would have never thought this was like a horror game.
Yeah.
So
You,
like, go on.
um, I'm more excited about the it's not on there, but the Dead Space remake that they announced. That's a good survival horror game. That should be amazing.
That I think that was the survival horror game that broke me out of my fear of survival horror games because I still don't watch horror movies, but it's not because like I'm a scared little kid as I was. I just don't like horror movies, and that's its own topic. But I used to be really scared of just anything horror. Like Jurassic Park used to scare me, and I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Okay, well, thank you. But Dead Space was one where in middle school I just saw it. It was available on the Xbox store, and I just had some Microsoft points. Remember when they were points? Like they weren't. You had
Mm-hmm.
to buy points to buy games. So
Yep.
weird. But I bought Dead Space One because I remember hearing so much about it, and I was like, all right, I gotta at some point, Marty, you gotta man up. And I played it, and I loved it. It was so great, atmospheric wise. You never felt alone in a room. So just to hear that they're remastering it or remaking it or both, whatever, I'm excited. Like, because that is the game that made me man up.
Yeah, it should be great.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. But to go back to this list, Monster Hunter 6, I to me feels like it's too soon, but people want that world feel again.
Mm-hmm.
Titanfall 3, I'm a little worried about Titanfall 3 because Titanfall 3 immediately already competes with itself, aka Apex. And that's why why Respawn every time they're always like, no, we're trying to focus on Apex because like this is our baby and we don't want to but like people would love Titanfall 3, but like they also gotta remember that half of Apex's fan base is already Titanfall fans.
Yeah.
So that's like, would they shoot themselves in the foot? Is what I'm trying to ask here, or would
Well,
they?
well, if they make it a story campaign or narrative and they don't do any PvP, I think it could be fine.
But I think that would get a lot of criticism because a lot of people love the PvP of the Titans.
Tell them, hey, go play Apex.
The Apex doesn't have Titans.
I guess if they did PvP and it was Titans, it should be fine because yeah, they don't have Titans. It's different.
Yeah, it is different, but like at the end of the day, I just hope it's a new game because we're in Titanfall 1 and 2 were built off the same engine, just 2 was improved upon. And in Apex, just pretty much exactly used whatever 2 used. And so with 3, it needs to be something entirely new because if it feels like Apex or Titanfall 2 at all, like there's it won't flop. I don't think it will. Like they have to try really hard to make it bad, but it will immediately feel like it will like how Titanfall 2 came out. Titanfall 2 came out and it kind of released at a bad time because it came out between a Battlefield and a Call of Duty. So you can
Yeah.
imagine what it did. And Titanfall 3 probably they may have learned, but they like might do it in a way that they just release it and go like, "Oh, it's Titanfall 2 but shinier." Anyway, you want to go play some Apex? Like I'm afraid of people doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's hard to guess what people are gonna be into,
Yeah.
So who knows?
But Human Fall Flat 2 is interesting because isn't that just like a game that has season passes? I didn't think they'd make a second one. Like it
I
got
don't
a
even know
lot
what
of
that
hype.
is.
Okay, to make it simple, it's a platformer battle royale. So it does the battle royale thing, but it's based on your platforming and parkour skills. There's no like you could push and like mess with each other, but there's no like you don't have to kill your enemy to beat them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you lost me at Battle Royale.
I think it's time to do a send off. Any other thoughts on anything covered today?
No, and like I said, I'm just excited to get back into Final Fantasy. Hopefully that is fun. Hopefully we can stream that.
Yeah, I mean, hope so too. But I mean, you can catch me streaming things on small little plug. But to be fair, I plug this in there twitch.tv/Maximus Marty, or I hope you could catch me and the rest of the cheap jumps. So for any of those interested, we'll try to do Final Fantasy, do other games too. Don't worry. But with that, Ernie, say your farewell, and I'll say mine.
Thanks for listening, Ruben. You're the best
Why him specifically?
because he's the only one that I know listens.
Oh, well, thank you, Ruben, and thank you to all the 27 engagements we got. Did I tell you that? Last night we got 27 engagements on our post and 83 people interacted with it, or vice versa. Something like that
Really?
on Facebook.
Are we like internet famous yet?
Yeah, dude, if if you guys need somebody to voice a cameo in Wonderlands, like I'm your guy. Call me right now.
We're doing cameo. I like it.
But no, sincerely, thank you to anyone, just even one of you, if you're listening. Shout out to all of you. Um, thanks for subbing. We have 7 subscribers, by the way.
I got Ruben's one of them. I made him subscribe.
Oh, let's go, Ruben. You know what, Ruben? I'm gonna give you a shout out. Shout out to Ruben. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I know he is. Anyway, I'm Marty. This was Ernie, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.